Hi, Dr. Reagan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? That's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. The demand for these workshops is so high that our March 2023 workshop is completely sold out. But there are still seats available for the only remaining workshop in September 2023. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you, so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. Hi, this is Dr. Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Podcast, and today we're talking about what is your 1-3-5? What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, what's your 1-year goal, what's your 3-year goal, and what's your 5-year goal? This is something that, most individuals don't do on a regular basis, and it's something that I've been doing now for, I guess, probably the last 30 years. I started out with using yellow notepads, and the yellow notepads, I would write down, these long lists of the things that I wanted to get accomplished this year in the next 12 months. And I usually would do this in January of every year. As a matter of fact, the productive dentist at our seminars and with our coaching clients, we actually do this every year with the office. We help design what is your 1-year goal, what's your 3-year goals, and what are your 5-year goals. The 1-year goals are important. You can even break them down to monthly goals, even to hourly goals. But I like to have a 1-year plan that says this is where I'd like to be. And we're not just talking about your dental practice. We're also talking about any goals that you have. For instance, physical goals. I'd like to weigh this much by the end of this year, and then I break that down into quarterly goals to say, okay, by the end of the first quarter, I'd like to be at this weight. The end of the second quarter, not only weight-wise, but I'd also like to have increased my muscle mass by a certain amount. I would like to be, doing my aerobic exercise. So that's one. Another one might be your spiritual goals. I want to attend church every Sunday this year when I'm in town. And I do that on a quarterly basis. If I don't go, then I have to reestablish that. I want to attend certain programs or certain opportunities, professional goals. I'd like to get through these courses by the end of this year. I'm going to sign up and I want to get through all of these courses over the next 12 months. Now, a lot of the things that I'm doing nowadays is a lot of online type stuff, online courses and those types of things. So when I look at my practice, I'm saying, okay, our practice did, say, 1 million last year. This year, I looked at all of my production by procedure reports. What procedures did we do this year? In other words, and what procedures did we not do this year that ordinarily we do? And I check this every single year. I also predict what we're going to produce for the year. In other words, how much are we going to produce this year? When I say predict, how do you come up with a prediction that is accurate? Well, you can't do that if you're not tracking. You can't do that if you're not looking at all the things that you do on a monthly basis, a daily basis. A lot of people say, well, I really have a daily goal. When you break it down to hourly, well, it doesn't really matter, truthfully, because you're going to be looking at your goals on an ongoing basis during that time, but I look at these daily. So I know where we're at. So let's just say you had yourself, an associate, and 3 hygienists. I set a production goal per hour. Say your goal is 700 an hour. What that means when you set a goal of 700 an hour, what that means is you're committed to 700 an hour. Meaning if you're going to work 128 hours this month, you have a goal of X amount for the month. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to produce $90,000 in a month. Okay. And let's say hygiene, your goal for hygiene is to do 15,000 each per month. And your associate was to do, 50,000 for the month. And when I say supposed to do, this is a commitment with the team that says, I will do that. So let's just say it's 90 and 50, that's 140 plus another 45. That's $185,000 in production in your practice. That's a $2.5 million practice, or $2.3 million practice. This is a big deal. So as you look at this and you say, I'm committed to this, that means if you go on vacation and you're only going to work 12 days instead of 16, that means you're going to put your hourly production still to reach that $90,000 goal. Why do you want to do that? Well, from a financial standpoint, you've got to set your business up with a budget to actual. And I'll talk about that in future podcasts, but you've got to know what you're budgeting for. It helps you run your business. This old deal, I wrote a series of 5 articles in Dental Economics about what's called the dental roller coaster. One month we're rich, next month we're poor, we do great, we do poor, we do great, we do poor. That's not the way to run a business. It's stressful. It's very difficult. That's when dentists say, I just think I'll go do something else, or they go through these issues. And so from my perspective, this is what is so important, is to plan your plan and then to execute that plan. And in business, do that in your life, do that in, I'm working on my golf game. I really want to get my handicap down to a 10 or whatever it is. Be realistic. I mean, if you're a 40, you're not going to be a 10 in 2 months, but you could set that up and break it down. So that's the 1-year goals. What about 3-year goals? Those are when you start talking about educational goals as well as your business. What I would love to have is a practice that's doing $2.5 million by this period of time, 3 years from now. And you can also break that down into 12 quarters. And so you're going to work this plan over a period of 3 years. And so this is where you're saying, I'd like to go through and I'd like to get all of John Coyce's courses taken over the next 3 years. I have a goal of I want to go to become digitally proficient in dentistry, which is the new wave. The new way that things are being done is lots of things are being done digitally, from all on 4, all on 6 to impressions, to Invisalign, to clear aligner trays, whatever it is, making night guards. These are all things that are being done now digitally. So you're getting rid of all these impression materials. It is so that might be your goal over a 3-year period. And so that's what I look at. What about over a 5-year period? What are we looking at? Well, at 5 years, and every time this all shifts 1 year at a time. Does that make sense? So I've got a 1-year goal, a 3-year goal, and a 5-year goal. At the end of that year, I now push out another 1-year goal, another 3-year goal, and another 5-year goal. So by setting out what do I want to be in 5 years, I would like to be doing community projects. I would like to be have a take-home pay of $600,000 a year. I would like to have my handicap down on my golf game down to 10 and being enjoying it and planning on playing at least once a week. Or I want my weight to stay consistent at X. I want to continue to do my exercise, because the truth is, if your business is healthy and you're physically healthy and you're spiritually healthy, and you have your friends that you're getting to spend time with, and you're doing the things that you love, that is, that's living. And so I really I really implore you to set up these 1, 3, and 5-year goals. Also set up an accountability partner with your coach or with another dentist in your office. These are the things that I want to do for the office. And make that become a vision. 1 year, maybe it's quarterly, but start out by putting your quarterly goals or your monthly goals on a piece of paper. This is what I wanted at the end of the month. And so it's a process that you go through to find out how much time do I want to have, how many days a week do I want to work. Yeah, I know that if I'm doing $800 an hour, I'm making an amazing amount of revenue and take home. So do I need that revenue, or would I rather have time? Would I rather have time with friends and time with family? And that's going to change, over this 1, 3, 5. After you go through this process for 20 years, your needs and your wants and what's successful for you is going to change. You've fully funded your retirement plan. You've put money away. You've done those things. You may set up over this period of time in a 5-year plan. If you've been in practice for a long time, you may be saying, well, I sure would like to retire at this point. I see way too many doctors that get to that point and say, okay, I need to retire. Or something worse, they haven't spent the time staying fit. They haven't spent the time doing the things that they need to do for themselves. And they, again, have difficulties. So you need to plan this out. What I've chosen to do, remember, is on a yearly basis, and then I break it down. I look at all of our production by procedure reports. I want to see exactly what our production was. And what's interesting, Jeff Buski, my partner, the first time he experienced this, probably 15 years ago, I said, this is what we're going to do. And in December, we would always meet and we'd go through the same things, the production by procedure. What new technology have we implemented? Are we using the technology that we talked about? Let's set our goal for this year. And our goal might go up by 5%, might go up by 8%, might go up by 10%, depending upon the procedures and what your goal is. And so I remember setting it up, and I told Jeff, I said, next year, when we get to this point, you're going to see how predictable this is. And sure enough, the next year we got to the end of the year, and we had actually overshot our goals that we had set by about 10%, 11%. So we literally kind of blew those goals out of the water. Now, that's awesome because as a business, I planned on a number. If that's $1 million, I have expenses that I have to pay with that million plus what we're taking home, whatever that is. And so I remember Jeff saying, golly, we hit it. I mean, we nailed it. I said, well, we only nailed it because we had the goal. We knew where we were headed. We worked together daily, weekly, monthly, to make sure we reach those goals. Sometimes I might take off, 2 weeks to go on vacation. And then I knew I only had a few days to work. So I preloaded my treatment into the next month. So I would put in the bigger treatment, the bigger cases. I'd have somebody that needed several implants and a bunch of crown and bridge or a veneer case. And I would say, I was already on goal for this month. So I said, Mary, are you around? I'd really like to do this July 13th or 14th that week. They'll say, yeah, I'm around, or no. And then I'll find another time, but I'm preloading that schedule so that I know consistently over and over and over again, I'm going to be able to reach those goals. And that helps you from a business standpoint. It helps you from a personal standpoint, family, friends, all of those things. So hopefully this has been, this is just something that I've done for years. And again, I started out with yellow notepads. Today, most of the time it's on software of some type, usually an Excel spreadsheet. So I hope this helps. And remember to sign up for Productive Dentist Podcast. Go to productivedentist.com if you're interested in coming to one of our seminars or coming to one of our workshops. And I will listen. I will talk to you guys soon. And thanks for listening. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify. or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.